Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joe with another hot take. And again, so much has happened. In case you didn't know it, the hearings for to confirm Amy Coney Barrett, got that name right, ACB, to confirm her to replace RBG, three different letters, um, are going on. And besides the usual grandstanding that Democrats are doing because they have no chance of blocking this nomination. So they're beating their chest and making dramatic proclamations. But this woman here, Senator Mazie Hirono, really is quite an embarrassment. I believe I believe she's a senator from Hawaii. I think someone said earlier. I didn't even look it up. I mean, it's embarrassing. First off, she asked the judge. Now, Amy Barrett is a federal judge already. This is a woman who's a professor at Notre Dame, has all these amazing qualifications. She's a mother of seven and plus two adopted kids, a religious woman, and she asked her point blank, "Are you a sexual predator? Or have you ever been accused of that? Have you ever?" I mean, just like the Kavanaugh hearings, only not quite as bad. Why would you ask that? I mean, you might as well ask her, "Have you ever murdered anybody? Ever smoked meth? Um, what about torturing a puppy? You ever do that?" I mean, this is ridiculous for you to ask that of someone who has zero connection to any sort of criminal activity. Kavanaugh, you could at least argue people were accusing him. Granted, it was decades and decades ago when he was a kid, but at least there was an accusation. There wasn't even an accusation against this woman. You don't just accuse people of being, you know, what next? What next? What? I mean, this is the lowest the Democrats have gone, and they just keep lowering the bar, lower and lower. Are you willing to literally set your Democratic Party on fire just in hopes that you could beat Donald Trump? You're not going to win. I mean, a strategic person would look at the current field and the current vote and the current climate and would just go, well, we're not going to win this. Let's see if we can make the best of it. Let's see if we could get Trump on our side a little bit, maybe get something out of this. Trump is one of the most, besides being an egotistical blowhard, I mean, that's something you could use. You could butter up Trump and pretty much get, something. You probably wouldn't get everything, but you'd get something as long as Trump can take credit for it. So you want to rebuild Minneapolis and Portland and all these cities? I'll tell you exactly how to do it. You go into Trump and say, well, Mr. President, we really need to rebuild these cities. And we thought if you could do that, then we'd have the money to build a statue to you. And Trump would be like, statue? It's Trump would be all about that. He'd be all about it. And you would probably you wouldn't get everything. Like Minneapolis asked for some ridiculous amount of money, like $500 million, but they probably would have gotten a few hundred million, to fix things a little bit if they're just willing to play ball a little bit. And when I say play ball, you don't have to like completely compromise yourself, but you have to compromise a little. You have to say, okay, we're not going to abolish the police because that was ridiculous. We're going to do things normal, but we're also going to have a bunch of social programs. Like that would be normal Democratic behavior, not we're tearing down the system for a revolution, everyone. Some of the people in the Democratic Party actually believe this nonsense, and you think you could just play around with it, but you can't. But the peak of this nonsense, getting back to the hearing, was when Senator Mazie Hirono said this, and I'm just going to play it for you.
Asked you a question about the Supreme Court's 2015 decision in Obergefell v. Hodges, a case in which the court recognized
And you can probably see it here.
constitutional right to same-sex
And you probably
marriage.
heard about it.
And I was disappointed that you wouldn't give a direct answer on whether you agreed with the majority in that case, or if you instead agree with your mentor, Justice Scalia, that no such right exists in the Constitution. So even though you didn't give a direct answer, I think your response did speak volumes. Not once, but twice.
Thanks, passive-aggressive auntie.
You use the term sexual preference to describe those in the LGBTQ community. And let me make clear, sexual preference is an offensive and outdated term.
No, it's not. And everybody online's already proven this, but I'll tell you, because I cannot not talk about this, because this is Orwellian. This is 1984. So what happened was, she said this, and of course everybody in the media picked up on it, even places like The Advocate. The Advocate used this phrase not that very long ago. This is not an outdated term, sexual preference. And here's where it gets really scary. They actually, and this is all over Twitter, and Webster's actually went in to its online dictionary and changed the meaning of preference to note that it was offensive. They added the word offensive. Say, this is the new one. This is the old one here, right? The act of preference, the act of preferring, the state of being preferred, the power or opportunity of choosing, one that is preferred, the act, fact, or principle of giving advantage to some over others, priority in the right to demand and receive satisfaction of an obligation, orientation. Being a, is it pseudonym? Synonym? Synonym. Here's the new one. Preference. Act of preferring, state of being preferred, the power or opportunity of choosing, one that is preferred, the act, principle, blah, 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 blah. 5. Offensive. See usage paragraph below. Now it's offensive because a senator said it in the middle of a political hatchet job on a Supreme Court nominee you can't stop. You instead can't hurt her, can't stop Trump, because so you're willing to destroy the English language in your passive-aggressive quest to say, we're not getting our way. I mean, listen to this woman talk.
To describe those in the LGBTQ community. And let me make clear, sexual preference is an offensive and outdated term.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Your people said, here's an angle of attack. Here's something we can use. These people in Congress, they barely can work computers. Okay? These people are so out of touch with everything. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi goes on the Jimmy Kimmel show and thinks it's appropriate in the middle, I guess it wasn't during the pandemic or right before, to show off her refrigerator full of artisan ice cream in a kitchen that, you know, most people could live in. It's so huge. She doesn't understand the optics of that. She just got blasted by Wolf Blitzer on CNN. I'm not kidding. Google it. You have to see that video. I can't show it to you, obviously. But the video of Wolf Blitzer actually doing his job and taking Nancy Pelosi to task because she is so self-centered, so full of herself, so power-hungry, and so tone-deaf. You have to see it. It's like watching, you know, back in the day when you saw a movie about the stuffy old broad who was in charge of everything, getting her comeuppance. Oh, well, I never. It's like that. And this woman's headed in that direction. She's not at Nancy's level yet, but she's headed there. And she has the gall to say this. And the people at Webster's, and it was Webster's that changed the definition, have the unmitigated gall to go in and change the dictionary. Change their own dictionary the same day it happened. So you can imagine the meeting at Webster's. Oh, you watching it? First off, why are you guys watching the hearings? Shouldn't you be working? Shouldn't you be looking up words and checking spelling or something? You're watching the hearings? What a waste of money Webster's is. They've got employees sitting around apparently watching television on their phones, watching the hearings going, oh. This is an outrage. I wish I could say I'll never buy Webster's dictionary again, but I don't know who does that. I don't know how Webster's is even making their money anymore. But, yeah, I'm outraged too, Joan. It's ridiculous. Sexual orientation has been a perfectly fine term. Preference. Orientation, according to Tim Pool, actually has a racist root word in it. Orient, which he went through as an Asian guy and was saying some words about. What are you doing? You're interrupting me. Be quiet. I'm almost done. You're being good. So, yeah, this woman, this senator, yes, I'm wrapping, Joe. This senator is an absolute embarrassment to the U.S. Congress, her state, to everything in America, essentially. That she would ask these questions of a judge. You know, and how stupid is she? What does she think this is going to do? What do you got? The 10 LGBTQ people, LGBTQ plus people who are watching the hearings that intently to go, yes. You think they're that stupid? They know the term sexual preference. They use it all the time. And they were fine with it too. And the ones that weren't probably live on Tumblr. And there's probably 4 of them. So once again, the Democrats are catering to a base that is very tiny. And they're going to find out how tiny in 2020. In about 2 weeks, you're going to find out how tiny the audience is for this nonsense. Because that audience doesn't even vote. And the audience that does vote, oh, they're sick of this. They are sick of this. God, what an S show.